Jeudy had a clean shot at redemption, a touchdown route that could have flipped the game's momentum, and he simply jogged through it. No urgency, no elevation, no fight. What followed wasn't just a heated sideline exchange with Shedeur Sanders, but a glaring contrast in effort and leadership. While Jeudy sulked and snapped, Sanders stayed locked in, processing the moment like a seasoned vet. The cameras didn't miss Jeudy's frustration, but what really stood out was Sanders' unwavering calm and how it made everything around him, including Jeudy, look even more chaotic by comparison.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Sanders didn't flinch, not when Stefanski's play calls backed him into a corner, not when the media tried to paint him as a problem, and certainly not when teammates gave up on critical plays. His poise isn't performative, it's battle-tested. This isn't about one argument. It's about how a young quarterback carries an entire culture shift on his shoulders while those around him fold. Sanders is showing what accountability looks like in real time. SS sidelined. It went down in front of everybody. Cameras rolling, fans locked in, and tension high. Jeudy, frustrated and fuming, picked the wrong moment and the wrong quarterback to test. Because across from him wasn't just a rookie trying to keep up. It was Shedeur Sanders, standing calm in the storm, eyes locked in, responding not with ego, but with control. And just like that, what started as trash talk flipped the script. Jeudy ended up exposing more about himself than anyone else. You could feel the energy shift instantly. The cameras didn't miss it. The exchange between Jeudy and Sanders became a masterclass in composure versus chaos. On one side, a receiver boiling over with frustration, checked out mid-play and visibly rattled. On the other, a quarterback under constant pressure, still managing to stay grounded, focused, and, to be blunt, more mature than the situation deserved. So let's be honest. When tempers flare on the sideline, it usually gets chalked up to competitive spirit. But this wasn't about passion. This was about exposure. Jeudy wasn't just upset. He was unraveling. Missed routes, lackluster effort, failure to challenge for contested balls. It wasn't a one-off. It was a pattern. And this little blow-up was just the tipping point. What's wild is, while Jeudy was spiraling, Shedeur was still locked into the game plan. Still communicating. Still showing leadership. That difference in mentality was impossible to ignore. You had a wide receiver giving up on critical plays, and a quarterback refusing to let the moment take him down with it. If you needed a snapshot of accountability versus deflection, this was it. And look, we need to talk about effort. Because in a game this tight, with everything on the line, it's non-negotiable. Jeudy didn't just run a lazy route. He coasted through it. No push, no extension, not even a real attempt to fight for the ball. That touchdown could have flipped the momentum entirely. But instead, the opportunity evaporated. And who took the blame? You already know Sanders. That's the real kicker here. Despite being let down by poor effort, Shedeur didn't lash out. He didn't throw Jeudy under the bus or point fingers. He kept it moving. That level of emotional discipline is rare, especially for someone constantly under them in Kevin Stefanski. And it's not like this is new for Sanders. The man's been operating under pressure from day one. Critics circling, media dissecting his every move, and a coaching staff that does exactly make things easy. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, in particular, continues to call plays that feel more like traps than strategies. 4th and 1 in enemy territory? Risky. And when it backfires, somehow Sanders ends up the headline. Let's talk about Stefanski for a second, because this play-calling situation isn't a fluke, it's a trend. He puts the team in high-risk, low-reward positions. And when things collapse, the blame conveniently slides right past him. It lands on the players, especially Sanders. And yet, Sanders keeps showing up, keeps taking the heat, and somehow remains the calmest guy in the room. Meanwhile, Jeudy's out here checking out mid-route. You can't have a quarterback battling pressure, absorbing hits, trying to keep his team alive, while his receivers are cruising through snaps like it's preseason. And then having the nerve to bark at the QB after blowing a scoring opportunity? It's beyond tone. The contrast couldn't be sharper. On one hand, you got Shedeur, who, Despite dealing with injuries, media noise, and suspect coaching, still shows up with focus and humility. He owns mistakes that aren't even his. He stays in sync with teammates who don't always return the favor. That kind of consistency, especially in a leadership role, is everything. On the other hand, Jeudy's actions scream disconnection, not just from the playbook, but from the team mindset. Effort is a choice. And in this league, when you start choosing not to give it, people notice. Teammates notice. Coaches notice. And yes, fans notice. The fact that Sanders kept his cool during that heated exchange says more than anything he could have shouted back. He didn't bite. He didn't let the moment throw him off. He stood there composed, letting Jeudy's frustration run its course. And that restraint, that's real leadership. It's also what separates stars from, and let's not let the media off the hook here, because time and time again, we see how quickly the conversation shifts to criticizing the quarterback. Sanders misses a throw, front page. Stefanski calls a reckless play that fails, crickets. The media has a habit of simplifying complex breakdowns and pointing the finger at the most visible target. Shedeur is under a magnifying glass every week. Every small misstep gets amplified. But what about the coaching decisions putting him in those situations? What about the teammates slacking off in crucial moments? The scrutiny is rarely shared equally. That imbalance is part of the problem. It also makes what Sanders is doing that much more impressive. He's not just quarterbacking, he's managing chaos. On the field, off the field, in the locker room, in press conferences. And somehow, he still manages to be the adult in every room. That's not just maturity. It's elite composure. Because while the coaches are gambling and the receivers are drifting, Shedeur is carrying the weight. He's adapting on the fly, owning responsibility, and refusing to let his environment define his output. And that's a lot for any player, let alone one this early in his career. The NFL doesn't give you points for professionalism, but maybe it should. Because what Shedeur Sanders is doing, maintaining focus while everything around him slips, is rare. And if you've ever wondered what separates a future franchise quarterback from a temporary starter, this is it. You don't have to throw 4 touchdowns a game to show leadership. Sometimes it's how you react when everything goes sideways. When your coaching staff calls another ill-advised play, your receiver blows the route, and the media spins the story like it's all your fault. How you hold yourself in those moments, that's what matters. And Sanders passes that test every single time. And now, to be fair, nobody's perfect. Sanders has had his mistakes, but it's how he responds that separates him. No excuses, no blame games. He shows accountability, even when it's not his to carry. And that's what earns the respect of a locker room. Meanwhile, if Jeudy doesn't course correct, and fast, he's going to find himself on the wrong side of every highlight reel. Not because he lacks talent, but because effort and attitude are everything. And right now, both are in question. This entire situation, this one exchange, ended up saying so much more than just 2 guys having words. It became a mirror, one that showed who's ready for this level, and who's still playing catch-up mentally. And it exposed something bigger, how leadership reveals itself not in touchdowns, but in tension. While others folded, Shedeur stayed composed. While the media distorted the narrative, he stuck to his process. And while teammates lost focus, he didn't flinch. That's what real leadership looks like in the NFL. Not just stats, but steadiness. And as long as Sanders keeps showing that, the team will follow, whether the coaching staff steps up or not. If you've ever doubted what makes someone a franchise player, this was your answer. Leadership under fire. Maturity when it's inconvenient. And a quiet refusal to be shaken, even when the whole world's watching. Drop a comment and tell us who you think handled the moment better. Like, share, and subscribe if you're here for more breakdowns of the drama behind the game. Because this isn't just football, it's the chaos behind the curtain. And we're just getting started. And if you thought the dust settled after that exchange, think again. Because the ripple effect of that moment between Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders didn't just stay on the sideline. It echoed across every locker room conversation, every sports desk debate, and every highlight breakdown that week. And the deeper people looked, the worse it got for Jeudy. Let's be real. When a wide receiver publicly clashes with his quarterback, it sends a message, and not the kind of message teams want circulating midseason. What people saw wasn't just a player expressing frustration. It was a crack in the foundation, and with the way Jeudy's effort had been slipping, it looked more like a player deflecting blame than holding people accountable. Receivers are supposed to be playmakers, the ones pushing the tempo, winning their matchups, making the QB look good, even when things break down. But Jeudy? He looked disengaged. No urgency on cuts, no elevation on contested throws, and zero sense of urgency in a red zone opportunity that could have shifted the entire game. And when it didn't go his way, instead of accountability, he lashed out. But here's where it really turned. After the smoke cleared, people started digging through game tape, and it painted a rough picture. Repeated lapses, body language that screamed frustration, walked routes in crunch time, and each clip kept reinforcing the same question: is Jeudy even locked in anymore? Meanwhile, Sanders, still taking hits, still dealing with shaky protection, still answering for coaching decisions he didn't make, kept grinding. The mental load this guy is carrying isn't normal. You've got your head coach dialing up risk-it all play calls in terrible field positions, then looking the other way when they predictably collapse. And in that vacuum of leadership, Sanders keeps stepping up. When you see a quarterback absorbing blame for a play that was doomed before the snap, you know what kind of culture he's fighting through. And still, he holds it down with a straight face. No excuses. No subtle digs in post-game interviews. Just accountability and next play mentality. And don't think for a second the rest of the team doesn't notice that, because they do. Veterans see it. Rookies see it. And fans? They're definitely watching. You can't fake that kind of poise. You either have it or you don't. And Sanders has it in spades. That moment on the sideline, it wasn't just about a misplay. It was a referendum on mindset. One guy melting down, the other unmoved. And it's that kind of self-control that quietly wins locker rooms. It's why teammates gravitate towards Sanders, even when the scoreboard doesn't. But the bigger question here, the one people started asking right after the clip went viral, is why isn't there more scrutiny on the coaching? Because yes, players make mistakes. But when the same issues keep surfacing, risky fourth down calls in your own territory, inconsistent personnel usage, avoidable clock mismanagement, at some point, you have to look at the guy calling the shots. Kevin Stefanski's decision-making this season has been straight-up baffling. It's not just aggressive, it's chaotic. And when those high-risk plays blow up, it's Sanders who ends up on the wrong end of the post-game narrative. Quarterbacks always get the spotlight, win or lose, but that brings us to another layer in this whole saga, the media spin. Because no matter how composed Sanders stays, the headlines keep circling back to him. It's like the narrative is pre-written. If the offense stalls, Sanders gets the blame. Not the questionable play calls. Not the drops. Not the blown protections. And it's exhausting to watch. There's a disconnect between what's happening on the field and what's being set off of it. Sanders throws a near-perfect ball. The receiver doesn't even attempt to make a play. And somehow, he gets a question at the press conference. How long does a player have to carry the weight of other people's mistakes before someone finally says enough? Jeudy's instant regret after the outburst was visible. You could see it. The shift in his posture once he realized Sanders wasn't engaging. That silence, that calm refusal to retaliate, that's what stuck. Not the yelling, not the accusation. But Sanders choosing professionalism over pettiness. That's what people remembered. And the irony here? That little blow-up only made Sanders look stronger. It exposed the cracks around him, not within him. And suddenly, all the talk about quarterback maturity and locker room leadership had a new focal point. Because while Jeudy was unraveling in real time, Sanders was building something far more valuable. Trust. Not the flashy kind. The kind that matters. The kind that earns you silent nods in the huddle and full support in crunch time. The kind that says, this guy won't fold when it gets... Because let's not pretend things have been easy for him. Sanders is playing through pressure most quarterbacks wouldn't survive. Questionable coaching? Check. Fluctuating offensive line support? Check. Injuries? Add those to the pile. And yet, Somehow, the guy still shows up, still delivers, and still refuses to shift blame. That's the difference between surviving in the league and becoming the face of a franchise. And it's becoming clearer with every game. Shedeur Sanders has it. Jeudy's outburst may have been spontaneous, but the consequences weren't. That kind of sideline scene doesn't just vanish. It lingers. It sparks locker room conversations. It tests relationships. And most importantly, it shows who's really about the team and who's in their feelings when things go sideways. And the fallout? Well, it's not just a PR moment. It's a turning point. Because every team, at some point, has to decide what kind of culture they want to build. And this was one of those moments. Do you reward the guy bringing fire without focus? Or do you rally behind the one who keeps it cool, even under fire? If this team is serious about building something lasting, the answer should be obvious in Kevin Stefanski. Shedeur Sanders isn't just playing quarterback. He's setting a standard for composure, for accountability, for what real leadership looks like when everything's going wrong around you. And every time someone else slips, whether it's Stefanski gambling the season away on reckless play calls, or Jeudy forgetting that full-speed effort isn't optional, Sanders stays locked in. And here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. If this team had a few more players with Shedeur's mentality, they'd be winning a lot more games. Because the problem isn't just execution. It's attitude. It's culture. It's the little things, like running every route like it matters. Like owning your role, even when it's not flashy. Like staying composed when the cameras are rolling and your teammates losing it next to you. Shedeur Sanders didn't ask for a sideline scene. He didn't need it, but he handled it with the kind of clarity and calm that proves he's more than just a player. He's a cornerstone. So where's this leave Jeudy? That depends. If he takes the moment seriously, if he sees it as the wake-up call it was, maybe there's a path back to the trust of the locker room. But if he stays stuck in the blame game, that spotlight's only going to get hotter, because fans don't forget, coaches don't forget, and most of all, teammates don't forget when you leave them hanging in a moment that matters. And that's why this wasn't just a heated exchange. It was a spotlight moment, one that stripped away the noise and revealed who's ready to lead and who still thinks this is all about them. So if you're watching all this unfold and wondering what comes next, keep watching. Because if this season has proven anything, it's that Shedeur Sanders isn't just surviving the chaos. He's mastering it. And just when you thought it couldn't get more transparent, more revealing, here comes the kicker. Jerry Jeudy didn't just regret the exchange because it was loud or public. He regretted it because it backfired completely. The second that clip hit the timeline, it didn't go how he probably imagined. There was no wave of sympathy. No, he's just passionate chorus to save him. The internet, the fans, and even former players all saw the same thing. A player underperforming, getting exposed, and then lashing out at the one guy trying to hold the whole thing together. And you know what hurts more than a drop pass? Getting cooked by silence. Because Shedeur didn't yell back. He didn't escalate. He stood there and absorbed it. Let Jeudy vent. Let him unravel. And in that moment, no shouting, no theatrics. He came out looking like the only adult in the room. That silence, it said, I'm not wasting energy on this. I've got a game to win. That's the kind of quiet confidence that makes a difference when everything's collapsing. The kind that signals to your team, we don't panic here. And while Sanders moved on, focused on the next drive, Jeudy's little meltdown became a narrative. His lack of effort, frozen on replay. That missed route, analyzed frame by frame. That touchdown that could have changed the game, now just another what if, with his name stamped all over it. That's the thing, moments like this stick. In a league built on tight margins, you don't get to just check out and expect no one to notice. You don't get to bring weak effort on one play, then throw shade on the next. Not when the guy you're snapping at is literally dragging the team uphill every single week. And speaking of effort, let's call it what it is. It's not just a bad look, it's betrayal. Because when your quarterback trusts you to finish a route, to fight for the ball, to show up in the red zone, and you don't, that's not a mistake. That's a choice. And in this case, it was a choice that cost the team points, and nearly cost Jeudy his credibility. Because here's what people are seeing now. A clear contrast. One guy, calm in chaos, never blaming, never finger-pointing, grinding through pressure, injuries, mismanagement, and media firestorms, and still focused, still showing up, still protecting his team, even when they don't protect him. The other? Throwing tantrums and jogging routes. The visual couldn't be sharper. And it's moments like this that define careers. Because talent will only take you so far. Coaches in front offices, they'll ride with you until they realize your mindset is dragging the team down. And once the effort is in question, it's a short slide to irrelevance. Meanwhile, Sanders is proving week after week that he's built for more, built for the spotlight, built for leadership. He doesn't need to win every game to show he's the guy. He just needs to keep doing what he's already doing, showing poise when things fall apart, owning his role, and making everyone around him better, even the ones trying to drag him down. So yeah, Jeudy might have picked the wrong fight, because he didn't just bark at his quarterback. He barked at the team's backbone, the guy who refuses to fold, the guy who's already shown he can lead through a storm. And when all was said and done, Sanders didn't need to say anything at all. He already won. SS Press Conference. Let us know what you think. Was this Jeudy's breaking point, or was it Sanders' turning point? Hit the comments and drop your take. Like the video if you're here for the behind-the-scenes drama. And don't forget to subscribe. We got more of these meltdowns and moments that expose who's really built for this league. Because in the NFL, it's not about what you say. It's about how you respond. And Shedeur Sanders just gave everyone a masterclass.